terrorism is a fundamental threat to religious freedom. It must be stopped, and it will be stopped. It may not be pretty for a little while. It will be stopped.
President Trump calling for the protection of religious freedom today in the face of radical Islam at the annual National Prayer Breakfast. It's quite a departure from President Obama's 2015 speech, where the president called out Christians for the Crusades, which happened almost 1,000 years ago.
Humanity's been grappling with these questions throughout human history. And lest we get on our high horse and think this is unique to some other place, remember that during the Crusades and the Inquisition, people committed terrible deeds in the name of Christ. In our home country, slavery and Jim Crow all too often was justified in the name of Christ.
Let's take this to former Trump Inaugural Committee member, Brunell Donald-Kyei. Look who's here. She's with me now. Brunell, what do you think? And God bless you. I got you to it first. Haha.
God bless you and God bless America.
What do you think of the stark differences in the two speeches?
You know, I think that right now, Christians all around the world should be rejoicing because we have a president in office by the name of Donald J. Trump who understands the power of God and understands that he has to be praised. And what I'll say is this. When I listen to the former president talk about us as far as religion, what I would say is this. We have to understand that religious freedoms are important for all of us. You've got 215 million Christians being persecuted on the daily around the world. And slavery he's talking about, slavery was under all different kinds of religions. And so it's very unfair for the former president to just put it under Christ.
But you see, but sorry, Brunell, but President Obama was downplaying Islamic terrorism and the brutality there in his speech. Whereas, President Trump is saying, wait a second, we're going to stop it. Go ahead.
Well, that's what he always did, and that's why we're in the trouble we're in. That's why we have an executive order where people who are from countries where terror is funded shouldn't be allowed in the country. It's because of downplaying and kowtowing and bowing of our former president to terror that Donald Trump is now our president having to deal with this issue and be the grown-up in the room and say, hey, we've got to protect American citizens. That's his first job as our president, to make sure that our national security is in order.
Yeah, it's a good point. And by the way, President Obama twice passed visa restrictions as an anti-terror policy.
Absolutely.
And as a senator in 2005, he decried open borders, saying we've got to stop illegal immigrants coming in, pouring in over the border undetected. That was Senator Obama. Go ahead.
Absolutely. It was actually his Department of Homeland Security that picked out Yemen and Somalia and Sudan and Iraq and Iran. That wasn't Donald J. Trump. He's only enforcing. He added Syria, but he's only enforcing what our former president did. But what I'll say to you, Ms. Liz, is this. As a nation, we have got to come together. We have got to get behind our president, Donald J. Trump. American lives, Christian lives, peaceful Muslim lives are at stake. And so I think that we have to get behind him, make sure that he's doing everything he's supposed to do as far as religious freedoms are concerned and our American security. Yeah. That's what he's here to do, and we as Americans have to hold him, of course, accountable. But all of this fighting and burning of property, that's not American. That is very un-American.
Yeah, you know, Brunell, you talked about lives being lost, and you're near Chicago. Let's switch gears to Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel. Looks like he's doing it at 180. He says he will now accept federal help and federal assistance to address violent crime in Chicago. This comes after President Trump addressed the issue at a listening session for African American History Month yesterday. Let's listen. I'd like your reaction.
No problem.
If they're not going to solve the problem, and what you're doing is the right thing, then we're going to solve the problem for them, because we're going to have to do something about Chicago. Because what's happening in Chicago should not be happening in this country.
But you remember Mayor Emanuel, Brunell, he immediately attacked Donald Trump, saying, you know, he's too divisive, he needs to look to his own house. But now the mayor's saying, just send him in, send in the FBI, send in the DEA, send in the ATF. Go ahead.
And that's a good thing. What has happened is the Democratic leadership has failed the people. I'm a Democrat who voted for Donald Trump for that very reason, the reason why Donald Trump is president right now. And I'm so happy to know that our mayor, Rahm Emanuel, has decided to put American citizens first, to put our inner city youth, blacks and Latinos, our poor whites, the people in the city of Chicago, all of our citizens in Chicago, whether they're poor, whether they're rich. I'm glad he's putting them all first, and I'm just grateful for that. At least that's a start in the Democratic leadership in the right direction.
Can I bring it up an important point that the Wall Street Journal raised too with you, Brunell? It's really interesting that for the last 2 years, a country that was a big backer, and it still is, of terror, Pakistan, is seeing a dramatic drop in terror as economic growth comes up and the middle class comes up. But in Chicago, you had murders rising by about 2/3 from last year, from 2015, and so the economic issue is still at play in Chicago. Look at what's going on in Pakistan. Terror is dropping as the middle class and the economic growth comes up. What a story. Go ahead, Brunell.
Well, we know that when jobs and education and all of that is first and foremost, and the people have access to that, then of course you're going to see a drop in violence. It's the lack of jobs, lack of education, lack of economic improvement and opportunities that's keeping people oppressed and hurting. So what do hurting people do, Miss Liz? They go out and they hurt others, many of them. We know that. And so I think that what our president, Donald J. Trump, and the mayor now is on board with is making sure that there are investments in community, to make sure that people have jobs and access to school choice, great education. And so it's an opportunity right now for the Democratic leadership as well as the Republican leadership and our president to, you know, to band together and put Americans first. And I think that's going to be the icing on the cake of hoping that to stop this divide in the nation.
All right. God bless you, Brunell. I got you again.
God bless you, and God bless America, Miss Liz.
Come back soon. We love having you on the show, okay?